I'm here because I've seen reports that you haven't been properly treated by the British media. You've been giving interviews explaining why your farm faces such problems and shortages, and you feel that some of my colleagues in this profession haven't been providing the full picture that you have described. So fill your boots.
Well, I'm trying to get the message across about the big, massive labour shortage we have. Whilst we supply 27% of the turkeys sold at Christmas in the UK, that's mainly as day-old chicks to other farmers throughout the country that are doing the same job as us. So we don't pluck that many. But I've just been talking about the issues we're going to have with Brexit and our labour shortages. And whilst I've pleaded with the politicians to listen, we have as an industry, and we're sympathetic to your cause and we take on board what you're saying, but there's no communication, no action, and it is an absolute car crash.
Well, I mean, I was about to say, how bad is it? Car crash is a fairly descriptive turn of phrase, but can you put some flesh on the bone, figures-wise or statistically, in terms of what you're facing?
Okay, I mean, we're as a Christmas turkey producer, we're relatively small because of what we do. But the bigger guys, they've cut back 500,000 turkeys because they needed a decision from the government to say, will you give some seasonal work permits for turkey production? They need a decision in June at the latest. And we started asking them 2-3 years ago, in reality, March in earnest and decision. And so they made the decision because they need to put their turkeys on the farm in August.
Sure.
To supply Christmas, and they got absolutely no support from the government, no inclination that yes, we will give you some permits. So they cut back 20%. So that's 500,000 turkeys that were British produced will not be on the market this year. And the bizarre thing is, if you go back 30 years, 30% of the Christmas market was supplied by France.
Really?
Because we didn't have the labour in the UK to do that seasonal work. As soon as the freedom of movement opened up, the UK industry could build that business. And now we had 100% support, pretty much 100% support from the British supermarket selling quality British turkeys. And it's just been taken away from us. The supermarkets will have no choice now but go to the big factories in France and Poland and Germany to fulfil the demand. So the market's all going back to Europe. So those very same workers that would have been doing the work here in the UK packing stations, packing UK farm turkeys, will be doing it in Europe.
Were you given any explanation? Because fruit farmers got some dispensations on these special visas, these temporary visas. Were you given any explanation why your sector couldn't have them?
No, they didn't want to open it up to the livestock sector. But as I understand it, they are talking about giving work permits for seasonal turkey production. But you know what? We're in October now. Yeah. Those guys that have been working for us for 15 years, they need to know. And we're lucky. We're lucky in that we've had people coming to us for 15 years for our seasonal production. They're part of the team. We've worked hard on getting the permitted visa. So they got status so they can stay here. But that's only for 5 years. So where my business will be in 3 years' time, I do not know. We'll have to go back to a cottage industry like we were 35 years ago. Just me, family, and a few friends plucking turkeys, because we won't be able to get the seasonal labour.
And the tax that you pay would be reduced commensurately as well. A lot of my listeners struggle to understand why you can't fill these vacancies with people who are already living here. They genuinely do. I mean, I guess I do as well because I don't farm turkeys. But perhaps you could fill us in on that one, Paul.
Well, if you go back 35, 40 years, we used to pluck all our turkeys with the local village. Mum, Dad, the kids would come from school and we would pluck our turkeys in the weekends and the evenings. It was a village thing and It was great. Things have moved on. In the 80s, it was getting really hard. The whole dynamics in the workforce changed. And come the 90s, there is no rural workforce anymore because farms mechanised. Yeah, so they've got all the big tractors and the common. So, on a 1,000-acre farm now, you'll have one person, whereas it used to be 15.
Wow.
And so that whole rural workforce has gone. And people say, you should employ locally. I would dearly love to employ local people to come and pluck our turkeys. We wouldn't have to worry about accommodation, flights, transport, getting everything sorted. It would be a dream if I could do that. But to put it in perspective, we had 20 vacancies open last month. We went to our local job centre. We engaged with them, said, why, we really do want to try and employ locally. We've tried in the past. It was a waste of time. Maybe things have changed. We had 3 applications, one of which the person wasn't suitable, one of which didn't want the job, and the other one didn't turn up.
But apart from that, it went really well.
Apart from that, it was brilliant.
I mean, it's not funny. It's your livelihood. You're clearly a glass half full kind of guy, but
I am. I'm the eternal optimist, but I'm struggling at the moment.
Well, I sense that you are, because the light at the end of the tunnel is almost impossible to see, and it might turn out to be a freight train.
It is. It's a car crash with a massive tsunami behind it at the moment, because in 3 years' time, we are planning now to downsize our business massively.
Oh, really?
If we can't get work permits, or something miraculous happens in the UK and suddenly we've got a massive amount of rural labour that will do all the seasonal jobs available. But that is just absolutely ridiculous to even contemplate that could possibly happen.
And if you could somehow have 3 wishes at Boris Johnson's behest or at Kwasi Kwarteng's behest, what would be the first one? I mean, I sense it's probably too late for this Christmas, but in order to safeguard you and other farmers in the sector moving forward, what would be the single best present you could have for Christmas?
He's just got to face facts and accept that we need migrant labour to do the jobs in this country. Point.
Final question, Paul, I promise. Boris Johnson this morning told everybody not to panic buy petrol, and they went out and clogged up pretty much every petrol station in the country. What would be your response to the suggestion that people shouldn't panic buy turkeys? Because they're probably going to be worried about getting their own on their table this Christmas, given some of the stuff you've just said.
Our sales are through the roof. I don't think, the supermarkets will probably be forced to import. Well, they are.
So we're going to be flogging French turkeys again?
Yes.
Gosh.
Like we were 30 years ago. And there are turkey farms here in the UK empty, doing nothing.
Because they haven't got the bodies to pluck the turkeys?
Because they haven't got the bodies to do it, yeah.
Well, I tell you what, you might be the most optimistic man in the world, but it's doing some heavy lifting at the moment, your natural optimism. We may check in with you again, although I appreciate that you're now in by far your busiest time of the year. Thank you so much for your... And briefly, the interview I saw you give to Byline Times, you said that you had given interviews to other outlets and you felt that mentioning the B word sort of meant that they turned off their cameras. Is that or didn't include it in the interviews? Is that real? Is that true?
It didn't. No, it wasn't. That was never. It's all about COVID or the CO2 shortage. It was never, is Brexit impacting your business? And I mean, we export, and it's been a disaster for us at the beginning of the year. You wouldn't believe how many shipments we had turned back for hatching eggs of our specialist breeds that we built up with customers. These specialist slow-growing breeds, and it's absolutely been.
You better get moving. You've got someone behind you. You can tell we're live. Paul Kelly of Kelly Bronze Turkeys. Many thanks indeed for your time.